Another very short-lived exotic would have to be the ACD Zero Feedback Fence, a Titan Gauntlet exotic that was introduced during the House of Wolves. Despite looking pretty cool and offering a unique and interesting perk, the feedback fences only saw limited use around the time of its release, then slowly decreased as more and more people saw that it was nearly impossible to dethrone the Titan exotic gauntlets, the Ruin Wings. But still, you may come across the feedback fences in PvP sometimes, as it can lend well to a handful of playstyles, but in PvE, you would nearly never see the feedback fences anymore. Well, I'm going to try to attempt to change that, by suggesting an optimal build, but in reality, the situational usefulness of the feedback fence is pretty low, so let's try to come up with a loadout. The perks on the feedback fence are very similar to other exotic gauntlets, where you'll get the Rain Blows perk to increase your melee speed, which is locked, and you can reroll Momentum Transfer or Impact Induction for bonus melee energy from grenade hits or vice versa. The weapon loader perks are also interchangeable across any weapon type in the game, so the choice is up to you. The exotic perk deals damage around you after you take an incoming melee attack, so this can sort of be considered as the offensive Don't Touch Me's, where instead of cloaking on a melee hit, you deal damage back on a melee hit. The amount of damage you deal is less than that of a melee attack, but in Crucible, it is usually enough to finish the enemy off for a kill if you've already hit them significantly. Before I get into the situations where this would be useful, I should mention that the feedback fences are subclass neutral, so it can theoretically be used on all Titan subclasses, even though it's better on some than others. Either way, I'll cover all the classes. Up first is the Defender, and I personally wouldn't recommend the feedback fences here. The melee attack for the Defender only really triggers if you kill the target with your melee, and as we intend for the feedback fences to finish the enemy off for us, I don't think this exotic is tuned for a Defender. The backup plan gauntlets are far more optimal for a Defender subclass anyway. Alright, up next is the Sunbreaker, and there is some more utility here, in PvP particularly, but also in PvE. For an aggressive melee build, running Stoke the Forge and Simmering Flames could be useful with the feedback fences, as you'll get a very quick cooldown from Stoke the Forge and Simmering Flames if your super is charged. While the feedback fences will only realistically kill thralls or maybe some dregs, the damage it deals around you should at least stagger some stronger enemies, to buy you enough time to run for cover. Sunbreakers are definitely usable with the feedback fences, but the best class in my opinion is the Striker. The melee charge deals the highest amount of outright damage, making the feedback fence more likely to finish off a target, and you can even spec for a discharge melee, which deals damage in the area around you. In PvP, you should have no trouble getting a kill with the Striker and the feedback fences, and in PvE, particularly against weaker enemies, you might have some success. So where would this be useful? Well, Crucible is definitely more ideal than PvE, but there are already other Titan exotics that work well for this subclass, like the Armamentarium or Twilight Garrison, but maybe on smaller maps, where melee attacking is more prevalent, the feedback fences might be a good choice. The other problem then is that in the smaller maps, you'd probably be more likely to encounter shotguns, which will render the feedback fences useless. In PvE, there really aren't too many places where I consider using these, especially given that the Thagomisers are hands down the better choice for a Striker. I feel like the feedback fences were really built with a current content in mind, such as the Prison of Elders and to an extent Crota's End, which definitely wasn't obsolete at the time. The waves of thralls in the pit and the melee vandals or dregs in the Prison of Elders lend well to the feedback fences, but outside of that, such as strikes and in the raid, I wouldn't go past the Thagomisers, Twilight Garrison, or the Armamentarium. Just quickly, I think a simple tweak to the feedback fences could make the exotic far more appealing, alongside the damage it deals, by adding a blinding component, kind of like an area effect flashbang, to the exotic would provide far more flexibility for aggressive builds. Also, the time it takes to trigger the damage area is far too long. It should be near instantaneous, not several seconds later. By that stage, most Warlocks have already moved to a safe distance. Just a thought to increase its appeal. Anyway, I hope I was able to provide you with some insight into the feedback fence. Thanks for watching, see you in the next vid.